Hi, I'm Mike,
And I'm Dave.
and together we'll ensure that you pass the QTS Numeracy Skills Test at your first attempt. This audio-visual CD covers all 4 of the 2013 practice tests in detail, using screenshots of the actual questions as they appear in the tests. Simply flip the pages and the audio will begin.
Now, we've included a few pages of revision notes prior to the tests to highlight some key areas of knowledge. However, you can skip these if you wish and return to them later if needs be. We have also included a thinking process for every question by annotating the steps involved. Developing a thinking process will help you to tackle other questions of a similar type. Hello, Mike.
Hi Dave, come in and take a seat.
Thanks.
I'll read out the questions and you supply the answers. We'll start with Test 1, the practice question. If I have any queries, I'll let you know.
Okay, Mike, I'm ready when you are.
Test 1, practice question. 630 pupils paid 50 pence each on a charity day. The money collected was divided equally between 3 local charities. How much did each of the charities receive?
Okay, Mike, let's get started. 50 pence is £0.50. So if we multiply 630 by £0.50, we get £315. Multiplying by a half is the same as dividing by 2. There are 3 charities, so each will receive £315 divided by 3, which is £105.
Test 1, Question 1. A teacher interviewed 31 pupils to review their progress. Each pupil was allocated 7 minutes. What was the minimum number of half-hour lessons needed to carry out all of the interviews?
Right, we need to find the maximum number of interviews that can be completed in half an hour, or 30 minutes. Well, 4 times 7 minutes is 28 minutes, so 4 interviews are possible in 30 minutes. But not 5. We'd need 35 minutes for 5 interviews. It's a basic understanding of the 7 times table. We have 31 interviews to complete, and we can manage 4 per half-hour lesson. So 8 lessons will be sufficient for 32 interviews, meaning 8 lessons is plenty for 31 interviews. 7 lessons would only be enough for 28 interviews. It's a basic understanding of the 8 times table. So the answer is 8 lessons.
Test 1, Question 18. A teacher in her second year of teaching was appointed tutor to a Year 9 class. While preparing for personal, social, health and economic education, the teacher studied a pie chart of the number of languages spoken by pupils in the class. What proportion of the class can speak 4 languages? Give your answer as a decimal to 1 decimal place.
Okay, first things first, we need to recognize that by proportion we mean fraction in this instance, though it is a word that is associated with ratios as well. Once we've found the fraction, it needs to be converted to a decimal, written to 1 decimal place. So we have 3 pupils that can speak 4 languages, as shown in the pie chart, and with reference to the color key. We're also told that there are 29 pupils, so we don't need to add up all the numbers in the pie chart. It must total 29. The fraction is then 3 over 29, or 3/29, or simply 3 divided by 29. There is no cancelling possible, no shortcut. So we have to work out the division. A calculator is handy, but it's almost as quick without. Dividing 29 into 3.00, we arrive at 0.10, almost straight away. We don't need to take the division any further. The 0 in the second decimal place is less than 5, so the first decimal place remains unchanged at 0.1. We have our answer.
Can you recap on the rounding of decimal numbers, please, Dave?
Yes, in our case, we're rounding to 1 decimal place, so we need to study the second decimal place to make a decision as to whether to round up or round down. I'll write down the possibilities. There are 10 in total. The same method can be applied to any other decimal place questions. Half the numbers are rounded down to 0.1, meaning all those numbers that are below 0.15 and the remaining decimals, all those above and including 0.15, are to be rounded up to 0.2.
Test 2, question 21. A teacher produced the following table to show the marks achieved in an end-of-year geography test by pupils in 3 Year 7 classes. Indicate all the true statements. Some pupils in Class A achieved less than 12%. At least one pupil in Class C achieved less than 20%. All pupils in Class B achieved at least 40%.
Right, first part. Class A. At least 2 people achieve 72 marks, if this is to be the mode. So if we subtract the range from 72, then no person could have scored less than this. 72 minus 60 equals 12. So no person achieved less than 12%, meaning the statement is false.
I'm not sure I really follow this, Dave. Can you explain it in more detail, please?
OK, Mike, let's draw a line with 0% at one end and 100% at the other. Now, I'll mark off 72%. The range is 60, so the lowest possible mark is 12%.
I can see how you arrived at 12%, but why can't someone have achieved 10%, for example?
Well, if I mark off 10%, then the range would increase beyond 60% to 62%. So clearly 10% isn't possible.
I understand that now, but why can't the bottom mark be 30%, for example?
Well, the bottom mark could be 30%. If I mark it off and add in the range, then the top mark would be 90%, which is possible. The statement says only that some pupils achieve less than 12%. We're not concerned with absolute values here, Mike, only with boundaries or limits.
Yes, I see. Let's carry on then.
Class C. At least one pupil achieved less than 20%. I'll draw a line again. The range is 85%. If we subtracted this from the mode of 70, then we would end up with minus 15%, which makes no sense. So the top mark must be above 70. In fact, it must be 85 or more. And the maximum possible mark is 100%. So let's take this. If I draw the range starting at 100%, Then we can see that at least one pupil must have achieved 15% or less. In the words of the question, less than 20%. So the statement must be true.
I see. So the lowest score must be between 0% and 15%. If it were more than 15%, it would go off the scale at the top.
Exactly, Mike. Now for Class B. All the pupils achieved at least 40%. I won't draw this, the range is 28%, and we have a mark at 68%. So clearly no pupil achieved less than 40%. Otherwise the range would be exceeded again. The statement is true.
Thanks, Dave. I get the picture now. Test 2, question 26. A science class of 30 pupils was given 2 tests. Test 1 was given at the start of the term and Test 2 at the end of the term. As part of a review of pupils' progress, a teacher prepared the bar chart showing pupil achievement in 2 tests. Indicate all the true statements. The number of pupils achieving 81 plus marks increased 50% from Test 1 to Test 2. More than 80% of pupils achieved more than 40 marks in Test 2. 1/3 of pupils achieved fewer than 41 marks in Test 1. Over to you again, Dave.
Well, for the first part, we need only concern ourselves with the 81 plus class interval bars. In other words, the 2 bars at the right-hand end, starting with the shorter blue bar for Test 1. Now, a 50% increase means half as much again added on. I can draw it. Clearly this increase is far below that needed to reach the top of the Test 2 orange bar, so the statement is false. Just out of interest, the blue bar would need to triple in length to reach the height of the orange bar, which is a 200% increase on its current length. Okay, second part. We'll first need to locate those bars that are at 41 marks and above. So I'll draw in a dividing line. And we're only interested in Test 2, the orange bars. I'll read off the values and write them in. We have 13 at the top, then 6, and 6 again. Now totaling these 3 values gives us 25. So the big question becomes, is 25 more than 80% of 30, the total class? Now there are 2 ways to do this. The not-so-clever way is to get the calculator out and divide 25 by 30, or 5 by 6 if you cancel the numbers by 5 first. The answer displayed is 0.83, or 83%, so the statement is true. A smarter way is to take the percentage you have been given, which is 80%, and recognize that 80% of 30 is 24 pupils. And we have 25 pupils, so the statement must be correct.
You've forgotten the last part, Dave. It's easy, so I'll do it myself. The number of pupils achieving 41 marks in Test 1 is given by the 2 blue bars to the left of the line you've drawn. So it's 3 plus 7 equals 10. The total number of pupils is 30, so I can write the fraction as 10 over 30, which cancels to 1/3. The statement is correct. I don't always need your help, Dave. Oh, by the way, I've been meaning to ask, where did you get that magic pen?
eBay. Now can we get on with it, please, Mike?
Test 4, Question 15. A head teacher produced the following table to show performance. Test 4, Question 13. As part of a data handling exercise, a group of pupils was investigating attendance.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Dave. Come in and take a seat.
Thanks.
I'll read out the questions and you supply. Test 3, Question 19. In a portfolio-based science course, there are 3 grades: Pass, Merit and Distinction. To select an appropriate sample from each class for internal moderation, the school uses the formula